Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Maddie B. I just want to apologize. We've been having some issues with Skype the past couple of weeks. We've been working on trying to improve that. If it doesn't get any better, we're going to try to test out some different software or something. So please keep reaching out and let me know what you think of the quality, because we want to try to make this as smooth as possible because football season is about to begin. We're going to start off today with college football media days. And Matt, I know you had something from this, so why don't you kick it off for us?
Was looking at Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern, and when they were asking him about declines in attendance and just his thoughts on why people weren't showing up for games, I thought he made a point that he talked about how more people are on their cell phones more often, and how like you can't go to a concert without people if they're not recording it. And he's like, the point that I really liked was that he said no one ever goes back and rewatches it. They take the video, they post it online, and they see how many likes and favorites and different stuff that they can get for it. I think there's not many people that actually go to a game and enjoy the actual experience of being at a game. I think he hit the nail right on the head that I think a lot of people are missing out on that. And I think for a lot of fans, it's why would I go to watch one game when I can sit at home, watch 8 games or 6 games, or I set up multiple TVs and watch all of the games all the time and be overly stimulated. What do you think?
I think it's a big problem, and it's not hurting just sports. I think it's concerts in general, and we're going to hit on a scandal that's rocking some of the ticket vendors later on in this show, so stay tuned for that. But down here, the big problem with NC State and their coach, Dave Doran, that came out of their media days, or at least an interview prior to that, they were talking about NC State offers pass outs where if you go to the game at halftime, you're allowed to go outside the stadium and continue drinking. Well, if you know college football, if you're not on the prime time, you don't have an extended halftime show. So a lot of their games are relatively quick. Like if they're on the 6 p.m. slot against Jacksonville State or something, you only have 15 minutes. So for those fans to get out of their seats, go to the parking lot, which might even be a 10-minute walk itself, you're not getting back for that halftime kickoff. So he even came out and said that he would chug beers at halftime as kind of like a joke, because he knew it would go viral. He knew if he said that people would look at it as a way for them to at least give a look at what can we do to keep fans in the stadium. And at this point, the only thing that they're going to try this year, and it's passed for the entire state of North Carolina, selling beer at the stadium. And I think that it all started almost, a decade ago now, when the NFL started to pull back and they started to restrict tailgating rules. You weren't allowed out of the stadium. You weren't allowed to do this. You weren't allowed to do that. And then that started, not just that started at concerts. You used to be able to go and tailgate all day at the parking lot. Now the parking lot doesn't open until 4 p.m. on a 7 o'clock show because they don't want people getting drunk. Sports are the same exact reason. You have all these ticket prices that are expensive. You have parking prices that are $40, $50 a car. Why would you spend that money to go sit at a game? I was talking about it off the record with a friend of mine, and I think even on Southbound Sports, I put out some stuff about blackouts. If they get rid of blackouts, I would never really go to attend a game again. I would pick out games possibly if I know Michigan or the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play a team where tickets are going to be cheap because it's going to be a blowout in favor of Michigan and or Pittsburgh. I mean, like Michigan at Rutgers is a great example. New Jersey's not filling that stadium, or Maryland. Maryland, speaking of, so I don't forget it since we're talking media days, they know that they have an issue with people attending. They are giving people, for the Penn State game on Friday, it's a Friday night game this year, they announced that they're closing campus down on Friday. No class, nothing. Because they know, number one, they can't handle the traffic. They're not used to having that many people there on game day. And it's Friday. How the hell are people going to get into the D.C. metro area that are traveling from State College? It's going to be a complete shit show. I will say that off the bat. So they're trying to get out in front of it, canceling classes and shutting everything down, saying, hey, come down Friday morning or in the middle of the day, try to beat the traffic, hang out. And it's a smart move because if you don't start to take measures like that, people aren't going to go to the games. Like, Matt, what would it take for you to go to a game? What do you look for when you're there?
Well, for one thing, one of the things that I got to look at is the amount of time that it's going to take for me to get to the venue. Because with coaching on Friday nights, obviously I can't coach my games and then the next day be somewhere far away. So it would have to be a place that I'd be able to get to within a day's drive. And, I would be willing to go to some different places depending on the time of year as well. So, I mean, I've done things in the past, like I've gone down to Tallahassee to see Miami play Florida State. It was after playoffs were done and there was downtime. That when you have an opportunity, I think you take advantage of it when you can get to a place. Because some of these different stadiums and stuff, I think there's something to getting to some of these places. Going to Notre Dame Stadium, for as much as people hate Notre Dame, going to Notre Dame Stadium can convert even the most hated Notre Dame fan. You have a new respect for being there in South Bend.
I think if you're a diehard fan like that, it makes sense. If you're an average Joe that they're trying to sell tickets to, not just going for a one-off, if you're trying to invest in even like a mini season ticket package that you always see, they'll entice you. The Michigan package was like, oh, you pick Ohio State, Michigan State, or Notre Dame, and then you also get 2 more games that are mediocre, like whatever the other middling Big Ten teams are that are coming to town, and then you pick 1 cupcake. So whenever you have that package, a lot of the high games sell out. The Ohio States, the Michigan States, the Notre Dames, those sell out. The middle team that sold out immediately was Army because of the military connection. They're always a big draw in Ann Arbor. That game sold out already. So then, as a fan, if you're trying to bring an entire group of family, it's tough. As a parent, if you have 2 kids, let's say a family of 4, it gets expensive. You can maybe go to 1 game a year. And then you have to throw in parking, like I said. I think that's one of the first things that could go because it's unnecessary. They're public stadiums for the most part. I think almost every city has taken money, or every owner has taken money from the city to help pay for these stadiums. Parking should be free. And I know it's the city trying to get their money because they're not getting any of the concession revenue, but technically they are with taxes. So you can't just keep taxing and taxing and taxing, because what's happening is you're going to kill the downtown. You're going to kill it. No one's going to go to these events. And it's like, why? Why do we have this gigantic stadium then? And then you have a scenario like St. Louis now where you don't have a team when the Rams moved out, but you still have this gigantic stadium. Why? Why are people paying for that? So for me, you got to make the experience better than what the game is. And I say make it cheaper. I mean, I don't care about, like, once you're there, then jack up the prices. Keep the $10 beers, whatever. But at least make getting to the game cheaper, at least for the games that are hard draws. Because you can't tell me when you watch college football on Saturday that there aren't a ton of teams that have just empty seats. I don't see the point. Just give them free parking, make tickets $5, $10, $20 for a family of 4, something like that. Get people into your game. That's the only way you're going to build fans. If I turn on your team, and your team, there's a correlation here. If you're not selling out, you don't have any fans. So your team's most likely not doing good. How are you going to build your fan base if you still keep high ticket prices? If your team sucks, you need to build people in, lure them in, and try to build fans that will then help invest in your program. It's like a chicken and an egg, though. But
there's one drawback to that, though. When you look at like a Pitt-Penn State rivalry, where it would be cheaper for a Penn State fan to buy Pitt season tickets, go to that game, and then just eat the rest of the prices. Eat the rest of the games, or try to sell the rest. Like those people that would buy a season ticket pass just for that one game, they're not going to another Pitt game outside of that one game a year. And I think that hurts a team like Pitt, where if you're getting someone that's going to only go to that one game, they're taking up the seats. They're technically paid for seats, but you're not going to get physical bodies into those seats. And I think that's one of those things that could hurt getting people there, is if they're already paid for, but people just aren't showing up. That could be something too that could hurt it.
It comes down to trying to help people that are loyal, because you have, with colleges, it's unique. The Steelers have a different beast going, because if you're familiar, and I don't know if other NFL teams are like this, but you put your name in for season tickets and you get put on a list. If you buy them, then you get so many years, kind of like a point system or something. If you take a few years off and they're having trouble selling, they will call you up and try to get you back onto that list. Like, you basically stay on the list. If they're in high demand and they offer them to you and you turn them down, I think then they push you down on the list, and then you have a tougher time to get them. It's kind of like supply and demand. When the Steelers aren't doing well, it's easier to get season tickets, and then you want to hold on to them so that you can sell them. With colleges, you have a built-in network that you can offer tickets to first. Offer them to your alumni network for cheap. Then if they turn around and sell them to Penn State, then you have a whole different beast. You have a whole different problem, and you need to get fan engagement. But for the most part, you should reach out to alums first. What a lot of schools do instead is they reach out to season ticket holders or donors. So maybe Penn State fans feel like, okay, if I have to donate $5,000 to get season tickets at Penn State, I can donate $20 to Pitt or whatever, $50, whatever theirs is. Get those season tickets and then flip them and sell them. There's no one stopping them. There's nothing, as a fan, I can't sit back and say, oh, well, that sucks for Pitt in that scenario, because they did it themselves. Take the loss. You're not getting that many people invested in your team. Try to get actual fans and try to build something. Try to get kids, because Penn State's not on the schedule every year. So you got to keep building it, and then eventually, if you keep getting fans going, try to get local kids into it. Give them away to schools. Try to hit the kids when they're young so that they're fans, so that when they grow up, they're more likely to buy season tickets. The way it's happening now, they're just trying to grab the quick buck. I mean, you agree with that, right?
Yes and no. I think that they obviously all of these institutions are looking to make money. Football's in most cases the sport that generates the most revenue for these programs and funds the rest of the athletic department. So, yeah, in a lot of ways that kind of makes sense. But I think there's still it's walking that fine line between trying to make a buck and doing what's right for your school. So I think there is some aspects where they want it to be a positive experience, but when you're not a football program that has a rich tradition, it's tough to try to promote that, knowing that you're not going to get fans. Like what would make you go to a Rutgers game, being a Rutgers fan, hoping that, seeing the other teams that come in to stomp. Yeah. Well,
you do have that benefit now. Before, I have no idea. You'd just be there to probably, because tickets would be dirt cheap, and you'd have fun. You'd have fun tailgating, and they could embrace that atmosphere and get fans going. That's what they need to do, almost like what the NBA does. The NBA points at almost like a minor league experience where they have dancers. They have dogs doing hoop tricks. They have magicians and crap at halftime, and you're like, what am I at here? But at least they're trying to engage kids, because they know that the kids are going to be there. By shutting down tailgates and getting rid of like kid zones and not having like giant bounce houses outside the stadium, you could set up a gigantic kid zone, almost like, and this is off the cuff, but the Little League World Series. If you go to the Little League World Series, they have all kinds of kids' activities outside, because guess what? It's for kids. You got to start with the kids at some point. Sure, you can make a quick buck because you have to pay off all these other sports. But if you invest with kids, then they might say, hey, you know what? When I get up there, if I have a choice, I'm going to go to Pitt. I'm going to go to Pitt, and a lot of kids do go to Pitt. But what happens is it's there, and you're still isolated from the sports team. If you have some success like they had in football in the 2000s early, they could have built on that. But instead, they kind of just put all their resources into basketball, and it didn't pay off. So I don't know what else. It's not just them, though. It's across college football, and a lot of people were speculating on that, also speculating on getting games on social media. which as a coach, with limited time, would you be down with watching a game on like Facebook on your phone or something?
I would for the random times that I've known people to schedule fall weddings.
Oh, I'm 100% guilty of that. I've watched entire football games in weddings that I'm in. I'm in the wedding and I'm watching the game. Because if you schedule it during the fall, you should know that if there's Michigan's in the top 10 matchup on Saturday night, I have to watch that game. So if I'm going to be walking in, I will be watching that game. And that goes for anyone. So at least be courteous of that. And you're right. Some applications are there. I like putting them on. I like when they're able to stream because I have like the auxiliary jack in my truck, so it's better than like I don't have satellite radio. So sometimes I just stream it on my phone, put it on the charger underneath my seat to keep it cool so the sun's not beating it up, plug it in, and then just listen to it like I'm listening to the radio. But other than that, I'm not going to sit for 3 hours and hold my phone. Possibly you can stream on your computer, but sometimes those don't work as well as what you would hope. So until they have like Facebook app on your television or on like your PlayStation or your Nintendo Switch or whatever gaming console you have hooked up to your TV, until they start putting like a Facebook app that you can watch these live events on, it's kind of pointless to me. Because I know they're trying to go for the kid aspect, like I said, but you want the kids at the game. Because it's not engaging for them to watch a sport for teams they don't care about. You get them to the game, you throw a bunch of stuff at them. I was at college games. I went to a college basketball game once where I won $100 because when the kids came in, all the kids got like a raffle. And I could be misremembering some of this. But you get a raffle ticket, so you have the ticket. Then they called your number. So I'm sitting there with like a big group of my friends I went with, and they call my number. So I go down on the court. They blindfold you. And then, well, at least that's what they did with me. So they blindfolded me, and they put a $100 bill, I think, on the court or something like that. And so then you're out there in the middle of the court, so all the fans are chanting you, telling you which way to go. And you had like 30 seconds, and luckily I was able to find the $100 bill. And that stuck with me. Am I a fan of that college basketball team? No. But would I go to another game there? Yes. I think it was fun. You had a fun atmosphere. Of course, now I have a positive memory to look back on that. Is that going to happen for every kid? No. But at least give them an incentive to hang out and at least want to be there. Not just on their phones the entire time. But let's get off this for a second because I know we're going to be getting back into the ticket thing. But let's get into some quotes here. You have Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State. Did you hear his quote this week?
Which one?
About his son.
Oh, yeah. Repeat it, though, for people who haven't heard it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it in front of me. But they asked him if he was going to recruit his son, and he told him that he would have to work for a position, just like everybody else on the team. He's not just automatically going to get a starting position because he's sleeping with his mom. Classic line. Going right to the heart of it and making a joke of the ridiculous questions that they ask at media days. Because why are they asking him about his son? Because you know if any college coach, they're making millions of dollars, if they get picked on because they're starting their son, they're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their job immediately, especially at a position like quarterback. He throws, one interception? They're already talking about it. Doesn't even matter. He would almost have to throw a perfect game or be like the number one recruit. Like if Ed McCaffrey was coaching because Michigan has one of his sons, and he's a high-rate recruit, and he's supposed to be pushing for the starting job. If Ed McCaffrey was the coach, and his son's at such a high level that he was like a 5-star quarterback, okay, I see that. You put him out there, everyone knows that he's a high-ranked recruit. He comes from a big name. But if you're just a coach, and your son comes in not highly rated on the recruiting sites, fans are not going to like that at all. I know Iowa basketball, actually, from the Big Ten, they had a basketball coach that had his son play point guard for a bit. Of course, they fired him because at some point you have to wonder, why is this guy starting? I think it was Todd Licklider. Iowa fans, you have to look that up because my memory might be escaping me. But I remember it's happened in the Big Ten for basketball. So, something to think about. Anything else you got from Media Days, Matt, before I get to the big one?
No, no. I just thought I liked. I mean, it's kind of a big dog and pony show. I was happy with Fitzgerald addressing it, and I liked the things that I heard from Taggart when he had his opportunity to speak about Briles and the offense and having things moving in the right direction. So I am a little more optimistic going into year 2.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, the big news out of the Big Ten came back to, once again, Jim Harbaugh. And, Coach, I want to get your thoughts on this because I don't even know if you saw some of these. But the first one came as he threw a little shade at Urban Meyer, saying, for whatever reason, someone brings up Urban Meyer every time, probably because Harbaugh was 0-4 against him. But he came out and said, yeah, Urban Meyer has a stellar record, great, but controversies always followed him wherever he goes. So you have the immediate clickbait, Jim Harbaugh still calling out Urban Meyer. And then you have other people looking at it and saying, not a big deal. He just pointed out that there have been arrests and everything else wherever he's been. Look at this time at Florida. Look at how he left Ohio State. It's not like he's leaving, they're carrying him out. He was fired last year. Basically, they pushed him out. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on that take?
I don't think he's wrong with it. I don't think he was wrong at all. But I think the media they put him in that position because why else would you bring up Urban Meyer and the rivalry and when Meyer's out of the picture now? I think it's relevant when they're still coaching against each other but with him stepping down, they wanted that. Well, I'm glad he's finally gone, so now we can finally beat our rival, and he spun it the right way. I think you do have to look at it openly that the terms that he left on, not good. What he leave at Florida, not good. He's the scandals have followed him everywhere, and it's not like they're ticky-tack things. They're pretty bad scandals along the way that he's damaging programs along the way.
And I'd have to look back, but I don't know if Utah had an immediate drop-off, but Florida had a gigantic drop-off when he left. And so,
well, yeah, because Utah hasn't been worth anything.
But I think they had success after he left immediately. Because when he went to Florida, I think they had another undefeated year, and then they got their Pac-12 invite. But I could be wrong, because I think this is their third coach. I don't think it was Whittingham the entire time. I could be wrong with that timeline because I don't follow Pac-12 football, just like anyone else that follows football. They're on after dark. We watch Mike Leach, and that's about it. So if you're a Utah fan out there, look that up for me. I know Michigan didn't have a great record with them, but that's what happens whenever you play during the Brady Hoke years. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other thing. Because, the Urban Meyer thing, real quick before we move on. Do you think he coaches at USC, Matt?
Oh, my God. I want to say just be done. I think, when you leave two programs like that the way that he has, I think you have to be done. You don't get to fake these phantom injuries and then go, oh, I'm really getting these bad migraines because all my players are acting a fool. It doesn't work like that. I think he should be done, but throw in some speculation. Could it be the reason that they're hanging on to USC's coaches because we can draw them out a year or two to leave that door open so that then we can tank just enough to be able to go, oh yeah, Urban Meyer, that'll be a good fit. He's turned all these other losing programs around, and then he can come in as the savior of USC. Well,
I will say this, that the best timeline would be that USC hires them at the end of the year. I think it's already in motion. A lot of people have leaked, a lot of insiders have leaked that it's going to happen because you're right. He takes a job at Fox, which is where? In LA. Perfect. He already has a house there. Then he's there. He's doing college football games. So once again, he's able to be practically recruiting players or whatever at the same time, just like when he came to Ohio State. He's in the booth making friends with all the media so that whenever he comes back, it will be like none of the scandal ever happened. All his buddies at Fox that own the Pac-12 rights, They'll be giving him pats on the back, high-fiving him. And in that best timeline, in a year that the Rose Bowl is not a playoff game, USC will trounce Ohio State in it by 40 points with Urban Meyer standing on the sideline. And all the Ohio State fans that are loving Urban right now will be like, what the hell? What are we doing?
But realistically, do you see Urban going to USC?
Yes, I do.
Well, why? Why would he go?
Because, Matt, he's a winner. And winners do things sometimes that other people don't understand. So for him to go ahead and take a winning program at Utah, at Florida, at Ohio State, right now, his legacy is that he's a winner. But do you put him on the same page as Saban? No, no one does. Do they even list him now on the same stage as Dabo? No, for whatever reason. Dabo's like the hot coach.
And I don't understand why Clemson. Like, I know Clemson just beat Alabama and has beaten them twice, but for a long time, Clemson was getting throttled, and the term Clemsoning, was a real thing.
And to be honest, that was when Dabo was the coach.
Yes, in his early years. And then you have the Osterine and you have the basketball program say we need to do it like football. That now they're churning out these top classes. Is it coincidental that it goes hand in hand with it?
I will say that there is some speculation that it could go hand in hand, but it also could be building your program. I don't know. You can't fault them too much because are their championships going to be looked back at being the real deal? I think eventually the playoffs are going to expand to 16, and everyone kind of sees this as like the College World Series years. If you watch a College World Series, Michigan has 2 national championships in baseball. This was the first year that they ever made it to the finals because guess what? When they played, it was like a 4-team national championship back in like the 60s. That's what people are going to think of now whenever they play college football. They're going to be like, oh, you mean that 4-team weird play-in thing that they had, that invitational tournament? It's still a mythical championship. You only have to beat 2 teams. I mean, the first year they won it, they lost to Pitt.
Yeah.
Was that the year? So,
yeah.
Great playoff. If you're not including everybody, do these really count? Same as like the previous ones. Why doesn't Auburn claim 2004 as a national championship? Was it 2004, 2003? Like, they have a very clear case for me. So other teams, like UCF from a year or 2 ago, claim it. Because there's...
Did you see that Alabama, what you're saying about claiming it, did you see Alabama claim that national championship recently that they lost?
Matt, yes. And that's why I want all teams to just start claiming them. Claim all your undefeated seasons. Because if Alabama's claiming national championships that they've lost, claim every undefeated season you've had. Because I know Michigan has a hell of a lot of them. Claim them. Claim them all. If you have like 20 undefeated seasons and you only claim 11 national championships, there's like double-digit championships that are right there for the taking. Just claim them. At least you can't say, oh yeah, I lost that year. Like, nope, undefeated, baby. Even ties, I don't even care. Ties not a loss. Say, oh, did we lose our championship game like Alabama did? Like, nah, we're going to count this one. I'm sure there's some team that went like 4-6 with 6 ties. Claim it, baby. You can see Indiana Hoosiers raise a banner. Go all out. But change the topic to wrap this up, since we're going super long. I know College Media Days, though, is so fun. The last thing that, of course, they tried to trap Harbaugh on was transfer rules. So last year you had Shea Patterson transfer from Ole Miss. Ole Miss blocked the transfer, and Michigan had to fight it. Eventually got him cleared for 1 year. Well, this year Michigan has had a defensive tackle. I think he's playing defensive tackle at Cincinnati. I think he flipped at Michigan to O-line for a little bit, and he was pegged to start. I think he was like the starting right tackle on the depth chart in the spring. All of a sudden, he transfers. Says that it's due to mental health. So they ask Harbaugh about it. Harbaugh comes out with an official statement saying that he thinks that everyone should transfer. That transfers should get 1 year or their first transfer for free. You shouldn't have to sit out if you transfer the first year. Maybe you made a bad decision, you moved too far away from home, whatever. A lot of kids transfer after 1 year. So Harbaugh goes on record saying that he wants people to be able to transfer for once. Well, suspiciously to me, because they ruled on this transfer, the NCAA ruled Hudson ineligible, saying that his mental health waiver didn't make a lot of sense because he was from Toledo, and that's only 45 minutes away from Michigan. So he can't claim that it's to be closer to home because Cincinnati was 3 hours away. So I see the NCAA point. They have a guy who says he's transferring because he's depressed, he needs to be closer to home, but then you move further away. And so they deny it, and now they wait till media days, of course, Cincinnati does, to start pushing out narratives that Michigan is blocking the transfer. And so they corner Harbaugh. He goes back to his statement about letting kids transfer. I don't know. And then, of course, he can't talk about it because he said it would be a HIPAA violation or whatever the rules are. You can't talk on student stuff,
yes.
especially medical stuff like depression. Like, I think they had an interview with the kid's mother that leaked suspiciously right around media days. So you're painted into a corner here. And just looking at transfers, what do you feel? Do you think they should be able to transfer? Do you think NCAA should be able to step in and say, no, this doesn't smell right, ineligible?
I see what the NCAA is trying to do in keeping it relatively uniform. The one that I kind of liked was actually James Franklin talking about the transfer portal. I know it's kind of a little bit separate, but he said if there's players that are going to be shopping they're going to enter the portal, that their plan was to pull their funding, pull their aid at the end of their scholarship money at the end of that semester. If the player's going to look and try to see what other options are out there, then they're going to do the same and see what they can, if there's someone in the transfer pool that could fill that spot better. So I think I kind of like that you're not going to have all these guys that are, I'm in the pool, I'm out of the pool. Make them commit one way or the other, and I think that kind of helps that two-way street. That it doesn't just I'm gonna go to this lower level college, one of the ones that's outside of the Power Five, have a really good year, and then I'm going to transfer to Alabama, or I'm going to transfer to Notre Dame or Michigan or Ohio State after that year that I showed that. Like, I think that's what the NCAA is trying to stop. What I don't understand is you take some of these ones that are blocked, understandably, but then there's ones like Jordan Travis is still waiting at Florida State to see if he's cleared or not. He's been on campus, he's been doing stuff, but they're waiting for the NCAA ruling that I don't know if they just forgot about him, but there's nothing with what his status is. He transferred in as a quarterback from Louisville, and we don't know what his status is. Just kind of waiting in limbo. Meanwhile, there was that tight end that was trying to transfer out and trying to get closer to home, had everything justified, and they said, nah, you're good, and denied it. So I think there needs to be, if it's relatively reasonable, give it to them. Let them transfer once. I don't have a problem with them doing it, but I think it's going to be tough to police it if you're looking at a lot of people trying to go back and forth and moving into, non-Power 5 schools going to Power 5s. I think that's one of the things that could be looked at a little bit closer.
That's one of the things. I have 2 points. I think that's one of the things that didn't pass the smell test for Harbaugh blocking transfers, because he just had Oliver Martin, I believe, pegged to be one of the starters in the slot wide receiving position, transfer to Iowa. I think Big Ten rules are that you do have to sit out if you transfer interleague, though. I could be wrong on that, so he might have to sit out just based on that. He just transferred a couple weeks ago in the middle of the summer, so you can't tell me that the players don't have freedom anymore. But to your point, did you see that the NCAA actually hired one of the lawyers that was backing a bunch of these players looking for transfers? I don't know if he was the big-name lawyer that helped Shea Patterson and all the Ole Miss guys, but look that up. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but it was pretty big waves. I tried to write it down, or I thought I wrote it down, but I did not have it in my notes here. I'll try to put it out on Twitter, but one of the lawyers that was cleaning up with their lawsuits on the NCAA, getting players ruled eligible, they just hired him. They said, "Oh, you're doing a hell of a job. We're just going to offer you a job. You can come work for the NCAA." So if you're a kid, how do you see that? And they're like, "Oh, yeah, great. That gives me a ton of confidence." We just hired the one guy that's helping kids out and blocked it. So, ton of things. I don't know. I don't know how you can hold it against certain kids, and it kind of stinks because if you start throwing out different excuses and things that coaches aren't able to talk about, like mental health or medical issues, who's going to come in and say like, "Hey, you can't do that"? I think just let them transfer, like Harbaugh said. Let everybody transfer one time, and if you're going to start transferring everywhere after that, then you have to sit out a year. Because if you do want to move closer, or they could like you said about moving close to home, just do it like this. You get one free transfer if it's within 300 miles of your home, or whatever, 3 hours drive, whatever you want to make it. Come up with some rule that you can transfer, because I think what's happening is a lot of kids, they think, "Oh, I'm going to be a starter here. I'm just going to transfer somewhere else because I don't like it, because it's too tough, whatever. I'm going to be a stud." You're a stud in high school. You go to college. Guess what? You're in the back of the depth chart after year one. Now you're fighting for a position. You might talk to coach and he says, "Well, you're in the battle. You got to keep working hard." The kid sees that as, "Oh, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to transfer out real quick and try to nab a starting job." You have another coach feeding him lies, telling him, "Oh, you're going to start right away when you get here." So he puts in his name in the transfer. Next thing you know, "Oh, sorry, we just signed a 5-star guy. We can't take you anymore." And the original coach, like you said, pulls the scholarship. Now you have to drop a level. So you're playing a risky game, kids out there. You're better off to make sure whenever you commit that that's where you want to be, and hopefully it's not for any of the extra stuff that the basketball case is looking at. Money, meals, all kind of other things like the special house at Louisville and parties that they had there. Like, if that's why you're going to a school, it might not work out for you in the long run. But we went pretty long on college football into NFL training camp talk. I did have one big news. The Denver Broncos, they were in a position to draft Devin Bush, and thin at linebacker already. Linebacker injury. Out until the start of the games. That's when they slated to come back regular season. So I had a Broncos fan reach out to me and said, "So mad because we could have had Devin Bush. Steelers trade up to get him. They're awesome at developing linebackers." So then you sit there and you watch the Broncos, their linebacker depth go right through the floor as they decided to go in a different direction. So thoughts on that, Matt? Gamble?
I don't know. I was happy with the linebacker pickup. I thought it was the right move at the right time for Pittsburgh to move into Bush. I don't know what the right move is for Denver.
Sometimes you have to make, because the Steelers, they're always thin at secondary. "Oh, you should get some cornerbacks," whatever. They never do. And then you're always like, is that going to hurt us? You never know. So in the NFL,
there's two different schools of thought with that. It's, if you can get pressure with your defensive line and your linebackers, then you can compensate for having poor guys in the secondary. Just like if you have a really talented secondary, they can hold coverage for a couple seconds. You can get by with having crappier defensive linemen and linebackers. So I mean, if you have crappy both, then you better just hope that your Andy Reid and your offense bails you out.
Classic coach breakdown there. That's coach speak for you. Crappy linebackers, good secondary. Can't have crappy both. Write that down. Maybe that should be the name of your coaching book.
You can't have crappy both.
With Coach Bilchak. Classic book. Instant New York Times bestseller. Also around the league, you have the injuries is the big thing. Because right now, you're not having contact. And it's one thing where you really don't know. You have players coming in out of shape. They're immediately getting slammed with physical workouts. So it's the first couple weeks. Just try to get through it without any injuries. And I'm actually excited for preseason to start here fairly soon. So I will be getting back into that. We have some extra topics here, so I don't want to get on this too long. Do you have anything else for this, Matt?
Did you see Le'Veon Bell's rant the other day?
I need to put that out on our Twitter. I do need to put that out. Yeah.
that was impressive. But it's like that's your job to be a professional athlete. Like, yes, I expect you as a professional athlete to live, breathe for say 10 years to be that person. And then when you decide to get out, if you want to make rap videos, you want to make movies, you want to be a director, you want to do whatever you want to do in your off time, then do that. He sat out a year thinking he was going to make all this money, and he ended up having to take a lesser deal in the prime of his contract. Now he's in camp with the Jets. I'm setting the over-under at 5 games before he's injured with some kind of hamstring or groin or quad injury that's going to put him out for an extended period of time and make him even more hated in New York.
Well, I'll say this. Whenever you're coming in, I think the expectation is that you're going to be basically, once you reach that superstar status, that you're going to be in that upper echelon. You have Aaron Rodgers doing God knows what all over the place. But the one thing that really stings for these football guys is watching the basketball players do it. You have Steph Curry having some TV show, game show. You have LeBron James having his name thrown on everything out there in LA. And so a lot of football guys, they're going to start to think, why can't that be me? And to be honest, they can do that kind of stuff because the basketball guys aren't putting that much time into it. You're just putting your name out there. But guess what? You have to be marketed in a positive light. You can't have a ton of negative stories about you. They won't want to work with you. That's marketing 101. You think the television networks want a guy that's blowing up, getting arrested for smoking weed, not going to practices, skipping games, doing things like that? You think that's the guy that they want to put their name on their television show? Hell no. They want a clean-cut guy like Steph Curry. That's like a poster boy for that kind of stuff. If Tom Brady wanted to do it, Tom Brady could have been an executive producer on a ton of random game shows. And everyone would hate him even more. Hell, Peyton Manning did it. Peyton Manning was doing all kind of crap whenever he wanted to. Because guess what? He wasn't getting in trouble. You think
when his neck was getting fused back together, that's what he was doing, Ed.
Yeah, but do you think Ben Roethlisberger was getting all the same issues after his incidents? No.
He was not.
No, they didn't want him out there. They're like, Ben, you just stay in Pittsburgh. And it worked out. They won 2 Super Bowls. So I can't knock it. That's how many Peyton won, right? So basically, if you want to win 2 Super Bowls, you can do it multiple ways. Bunch of TV deals, commercials all the time. I mean, look at Eli. He has the same amount of Super Bowls. He does commercials and stuff too. So you got to be positive, though. You can't be a negative guy. Clay Matthews does all those Allstate commercials. You see him getting arrested? No. I mean, come on. The whole league, the whole thing, everything is about players getting arrested all the time. They're talking about Kareem Hunt this. Who's the other guy from the Chiefs?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Hill, is he going to be able to play? They want some positive guys. They don't want Le'Veon Bell, a cancer, out there on their television network. People aren't going to tune in for that. So let's get into – I have some baseball topics. I know you brought about the Tigers last week, and I do want to apologize. I thought that the Kansas City was below them. They were not dead last, Tigers, by any means. They are in their division, so I was wrong on that. They're last in their division. But the Orioles are worse. And I thought the Orioles...
I said the same thing. I thought the same thing today when I was looking at them. Detroit made I think they have picked up the slack just a smidge since I yelled at them last week. So
they were like 3-7. The Orioles were always behind them. And to me, the Orioles were in a better position. They didn't blow up their entire team like Detroit did. So I have no idea why they're so bad. Are they tanking? Maybe you should save your hate for the Orioles, Matt.
I do hate the Orioles. I hate the Orioles. Screw them.
Is it because Cal Ripken?
Yes, it's because Cal Ripken. Playing 9,000 straight games, I could go to see him, and he sits out that game. Screw the Orioles. Screw Cal Ripken.
That is a true story, though. You did go to see him, and he sat out. Is that
yes.
You know who wouldn't have sat out? Barry Bonds. If Barry Bonds knew you were going to be there, he'd be there. I saw they did the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame inductions, and I was like, is Barry Bonds in there? No, I don't care. They were like trying to make it about Mariano Rivera. I don't care. Who's Mariano Rivera?
Was Pete Rose on there?
No.
Did he make it?
No, I want a class of Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, is Shoeless Joe Jackson in there. Throw him in there. Get like all the guys, like a murderer's row type of class where everyone hates him. And then I would watch that induction ceremony. Because that would be funny. And it would be awesome, and they'd be well deserved. You can put Canseco, he can MC it. Because I don't think his numbers would be getting him in. I could be wrong. But let him MC it out there. And see what happens when he does his tell-all. Like, if people could come up and he could look at him and say, nah, you didn't do steroids. Pete Rose. I'd be laughing at that. That's what I want to see. That would get me watching. But on serious news, it came back up. I had some people ask me about this, so I wanted to put it on the show. Another kid at a Cleveland game, I don't know if it was in Cleveland or not, but Lindor hit a foul ball, hit a kid. Again, kid is safe. They said it was kind of behind the dugout. The Major League Baseball puts out their other statement that they've decided in 2018 that they were going to extend the nets to the dugouts. And that's kind of like their statement. Like, okay, who cares? You have teams right now saying that they're going to extend them to the foul pole. Just do it. We've talked about it on the show before. If you're going to keep getting players keep getting hurt, this is probably like the fifth one already this year. Like I said, you had a problem. I went to the game. The problem is people are on their phones. They're not paying attention to the game. It's not that hard. There's only, 200, 300 pitches in a game? It's not that hard to pay attention. And then you can play on your phone whenever there's 300 other things going on, when they're doing sausage races and singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game and all kind of other fluff. Play on your phone then. But when the ball is there, especially if you're in a position where there's not a net, you need to pay attention. I'm sorry. You have a kid, let him bring your own glove as a dad and try to catch the ball for him. Too many people, because every time I go to a game, like Matt said at the top of the show, too many people are on their phone. I've even seen people record the guy trying to hit the ball. Good Lord, just go home and buy a DVR. And just DVR it. You're never going to watch that clip of that guy hitting it. Maybe you're posting it on your Instagram for 3 people to know that you were at the game? Just take a picture. That takes 1 second. You hurry up and put your phone down. And do it in between an inning. Take a picture, put your phone down, wait till the inning's over, put it out on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Actually, it's even better if you're in the photo, because people don't care if it's just a photo of the game.
Better. Take a picture and then send it to us. Let us know that you're out of your house. I'd like to see. What are you doing?
Hey, we do get some of those, so you can't knock it. Go out and have some fun. Send it to us, hashtag it, or actually just add it to us, whatever. We'd love to see that kind of stuff, because we like to go to the games. We like to tailgate, and it feels like there's a negative thing around it. The foul ball thing should not be as negative as what they're making it out to be, because I try to look for footage of these to try to see, is there something going on? Did someone else distract this kid that he got hit with the ball? Where it was like someone talking to him? Like, what's going on? And there's never any footage, so you don't know. So it's really hard to give a good, honest opinion other than, if you're at the game, you know you're in danger, pay attention. If you have kids, if I was their parent, I would make sure 100% to be paying attention, because why would you not want to protect your kids? But that's just my opinion. I don't know. There's some other changes, though, that I wanted to hit on. A little bit more positive than extending the nets. The Atlantic League, minor league, they are using robots right now, through the end of the season, I believe, to judge balls and strikes. What are your thoughts on this?
It's stupid. They're going to use robots and all this artificial technology, and the NFL's got that one camera in the pylon that we're going to use for screw. I hate it.
I already gave you the solution for the NFL.
If the NFL can't handle it, if they can't use technology, everyone else can be primitive too. It's bullshit.
I gave you the solution to the NFL. They need the moving camera that hangs on that first row that goes straight down and gives you the actual view. Screw that stupid pylon cam.
Guess what? If the NBA can show me everything that LeBron James has ever done through his entire free agency move from Cleveland to LA, then I think we should be able to know, did the football cross the plane or not? Get the technology out there and get it done.
The robot strike one, I think, is the hardest, because you're looking at something that happens so fast. And I want to know if the robot's going to take into account the height of the player. Because I thought the rule was from the knees to the belt was a strike zone. So some of these guys are pretty tall. Is the robot going to know that? Like as a player, do you come up, walk up, pop in your, you go up to a keyboard, type in your height? Does it know that you're the one batting? How advanced are these robots? Is it just a robot that's set there almost like a jugs machine that just has its set readings and that's it? Spits it out, ball or strike? Because I feel like that could be very unfair. You have different batting stances, different catchers, different pitching motions. What if it's a lefty that throws kind of like Randy Johnson did out to the side where his balls are cutting across the plate at an angle? Is he going to get better calls? Maybe he'll get worse calls. I feel like it's going to be very iffy. I do like having some of that, which would hopefully cut out replays, because if they already have robots making the call, then there's no need for replay.
Will they treat it like Naked Gun? And will the robot be doing elaborate punch-outs for strikeouts? Those are the things we need to know.
I don't know, but this is something to keep an eye on because I predict that it will make its way to Major League Baseball fairly soon because I feel like they're going to feel like this is a way to speed up the game and avoid confrontation.
Did you say that they were still going to have the umpires there to overrule it?
Well, yeah, there's going to be umpires. That's what I don't understand. If he's going to stand behind it, if it's going to be a guy in a booth, I'm actually not sure what the setup's going to be. Is the robot an actual robot on the field, or is it up on the TV monitor behind the pitcher? Because that's another thing too. Where are they getting the angles from? Because right now, when Fox or whatever TV broadcast, that's broadcast from the booth, and I think it's from the outfield camera. I could be wrong. But it's the one that overlooks behind the pitcher, and then because they have the zoom in from that. Or it might be in the press box. Like, I have no idea. I want to see more on this, because I have a hard time believing that the Atlantic League has all of those high-tech cameras already in their stadiums. Because why would they need those? It's not like Fox is broadcasting one of their games Saturday night at 8. So
what they could do is they should just have just an umpire up in the box and then just have the theatrical guy standing there, so that then they could just radio to him ball. They can just kind of just flash it, and then they can get a real elaborate. That way you get the entertainment exposure. Just radio to him, is it a ball or a strike? You don't have to. They got the best angle.
I'd rather have the robot get celebrity voices, so like I can hear Danny DeVito give a strike, Steve Reich. And then the entire game, it's like that guy doing the voices. I think that'd be really fun. If you're trying to make the games more fun, give the robot celebrity voices. I would love to hear that. You could bring back like a Michael Jackson, things like that. Mix it up. I think you'd have a lot of fun. And I do like they are doing one other fun rule that I think could change the game for the better, and that is stealing first base. And what I mean by that is right now, if there's a 2-strike count, you swing at a 3rd strike and the catcher misses the ball, you can run to first. Well, now you can run to first at any time. Stealing first. If the catcher drops the ball and you decide like, oh crap, I'm going to run. I'm going to try to throw him off. Make the catcher make that play. Because there's many times where I'm watching a game and whatever reason, maybe it's the first pitch of the game, the pitcher's not paying attention, he's not warmed up that well. He throws the most ridiculous strike halfway up the net. And then
Don Rocker pitching.
And then immediately the catcher reaches behind him, grabs the ball from the ump, and throws it back out there like nothing happened. And it's like, wait, has no one noticed that pitch? That was ridiculous. It was almost like Bull Durham, where he's hitting the mascot and stuff like that. I've seen those balls. Now make him pay. Make the pitcher pay at any time. You're like, holy crap, that catcher's not getting that one. Just run to first. It could even be a strategy. You're just sitting there peeking, like, go ahead, throw that ball in the dirt. I'll run to first. Put some pressure on the catcher. At least it's an extra action play. It's not action play to me isn't striking out or walking. That's not really too much action. But a chance where a missed ball, that's giving me another reason to watch, because instead of just having the guy swing or, okay, I know it's an 0-2 count, he's giving him nothing to hit here. What if he throws that splitter in the dirt and the catcher miffs it? Now he can run on an 0-2 count, Matt. There's some strategy because you know he's not going to get a ball to hit, but now he has to pitch a ball for at least a catcher to catch. You can't just throw a curveball in the dirt that bounces 5 feet in front of home plate and goes over the catcher's head because that guy will be like, 2 strikes, I'm out of here. I'm running down first base. So I love it. But anything else you got for baseball before we move on?
Random fact I learned that Goldschmidt's grand slam last night was the first ever right-handed batter to hit a ball from PNC Park into the river. So, St. Louis Cardinals game and a half back behind the Cubbies for first place.
Wow, I would never have guessed that. I thought for sure someone else would have hit one into the river. I guess what happens whenever you don't have a lot of power on your team, Matt. That's a hometown team. That's a Pittsburgh joke.
But 7.5 games back are the Buccos, and I still think that they should follow my strategy. Trade everyone. Find out who the top 11, find the best, 4 pitchers, the starting 9, and just sign the top youngest prospects to 15-year contracts, and then ride it out. Just keep the band together, and we'll just be like, hey, we're going to be a winner. And you can just say, look, here we have the top prospects.
No, that's not the Pirates' way. The Pirates' way is to go to foreign countries like, where did they get those 2 guys from? India that one time? Where no one else is getting baseball players from. Sign them to mega deals for 30 years so that if these players ever turn into an Ichiro, they got them. Got them locked up, Matt.
See, that's my strategy.
Smart.
Except get them with the top prospects. I'm sure they have something that they can trade. Trade some belts. Trade a couple helmets.
Give them some wooden bats.
Get a couple of dollar hot dog night. I'm sure is coming back up again. They can trade the hot dogs this time. That way they have the buns. Make poor man grilled cheese. Just use the nacho cheese. They make grilled cheese for people.
That's so ridiculous. The last big thing before I get into our final bell stuff, NBA tampering. What are your thoughts on that? As they're looking into it. For fans that don't know, the NBA, of course, right now, all of the tampering in Major League Baseball, if you remember, was it Bryce Harper? Bryce Harper put out a statement or something about he would love to play with someone. Major League Baseball immediately fined him and went in for tampering because they don't want any players trying to create super teams in Major League Baseball. NBA, on the other hand, it's a rodeo. Anyone's out there putting on their show, doing all kind of stuff, almost like more of a circus than a rodeo.
But this is the thing. They're launching this big investigation. The owners they didn't do it. I would guarantee that it's not the owners that are doing the tampering, but it's 100% player for player. You can't tell me that wasn't something that was going on to begin with. When you look at as many moves that were made by some of these guys, the players are practically saying, hey, we're talking together, saying, hey, join this team at the free agent deadline. Try to get traded to this team because this is where I want to go. What's stopping them from doing that? There's nothing right now that I know of. Player to player that you're talking about, that's not collusion.
Yeah, that's 100% what they're doing. And you're right. I don't know how they can stop that. Because, yeah, you could have the tampering rules in, but with basketball, the roster slots are so small that these are just friends. It's not like baseball where, yeah, Bryce Harper, and that's why I brought up that example. Yeah, he might say that it's nice to play with someone that he only knows professionally through baseball, wasn't friends with them or whatever. Yeah, it would be nice. But you're telling me that if he grew up and played college ball or even high school ball or minor league ball with another guy, that they're not talking every day, hanging out, having cookouts with the kids in the winter? Give me a break.
But look at these, for as many different basketball leagues and Olympic teams and different stuff, these guys are around each other. They're playing against each other. They're playing with each other in these different all-star games and different tournaments. They know personality-wise all this stuff because of all the media stuff that they have to go through. They're having all this extra access. Even if they're saying that the players shouldn't be trying to actively recruit each other, don't tell me that if we're both NBA players and I enjoy playing with you and you're going to make me better and give me a chance to win a championship, that I'm not saying, hey, why don't we go to this team over here? There's enough that maybe we can win a championship together. Like, that's extra money in both of our pockets. That's stupid not to try to do that.
And they probably don't even have to say that. It's probably just like, hey, man, yeah, I hear that whatever team has 2 open spots for max contracts. I think I'm going to sign there. And then the other guy is like, yeah, I'm friends with him. I wonder if I can sign there for the other max contract. Boom, done deal. I mean, why not? Hey, is it going to work out here? Look at what Kyrie Irving did with Durant. Everyone thought that they were going to sign together in Boston. Instead, they moved to the Nets. Do you really think that the Nets owner was like colluding with them to get them to move away from Boston? Probably not. They just needed to get into a team that could give them max contracts, man.
Well, and the funny thing with that is you look at, with all this potential talk of collusion, and you got the Knicks that did nothing that I could think of, and they're one of the richest franchises in all of sports. Like, they have the money to spend, and they're not going after it, or they didn't lure those people in. Big market, lots of revenue. I think they're third or fifth, I think, of all franchises, and they're not even that good.
Yeah, but they're not allowed, Matt, because they're still paying off their debts from the frozen envelope for Patrick Ewing. It's been what, 30 years when they did that? They put the frozen envelopes to the draft. The Knicks got the first draft pick overall. So they still have to pay their debt to the league. It's probably 50 years, so that will be up soon. Then you'll see the Knicks start colluding.
Can we get in that collusion pool? We want LeBron.
They're licking their chops. They're like, damn, we can't wait. We got all the resources here. Just need our collusion pool to end up. Or what do they call them? Their no-show clause, their no collusion clause. Just like the NCAA puts us on coaches. Anything else you got on that?
No, I think it's gonna make the NBA. It's gonna try to make it look like they're trying to police the ranks, but there's no way that they can do it. So it's just one big dog and pony show that is gonna come up with nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that they're just doing it for show because they know that the fans are giving some pushback, but nothing's going to happen from that. Let's get into the final bell since we're at the end of the show. I did want to put one more thing up. I don't have all the topics up, but I'll talk about that at the very end. For my final bell, I wanted to bring up that Live Nation was caught fixing ticket prices for Metallica. And while that might not seem like it is related to sports, I would guarantee that because these online ticket vendors have a big monopoly with Ticketmaster, your StubHubs, that if it's happened for Metallica, it's happened for sports teams. And what they did was they had an employee, I guess it was like a middleman for Metallica. What he did was he bought a bunch of tickets at their list price and then just relisted them for 40% more. And because these sites own both the real ticket sales and the reseller market, there's nothing as a fan you can do. You can't tell me, Matt, that when they talk about, oh, all the Penn State fans are buying season tickets, how do we know that Pitt isn't putting some of them up themselves? They just have some mega donor that buys a whole block of season tickets and then just resells them and gives that as a donation back. Now, of course, that would be a big scam, and I'm not implicating Pitt in any way, but I'm just throwing that out there. If Metallica could do it for themselves, you better believe that these other sports franchises know that they can do it as well. You get the big ticket game, you know which one's going to make you your money. Like you said, have to pay for your sports somehow. Why not? They already jack up the prices somehow. Why not take advantage of the reseller market? What are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting point, and I'm not surprised that Metallica did that, being that they brought Napster down. So while everything to make a buck, I look at that's also a risk, though. If you're going to buy giant blocks of season tickets or you're going to buy blocks of games, you better hope that people show up for it too, because otherwise, you end up eating tickets. If you're buying season tickets, thinking, oh well, my team's gonna make it to the championship game, or they're gonna make it to the conference championship game. That's like I'm purposefully gonna buy Alabama season tickets, and then if they get knocked out early by the kick six with Auburn, and now that they're not making it to that game, and people are suddenly not as interested in going, now you're going to lose all that extra money. So it is a gamble, but you better make sure that you come out on the right side.
Oh, it's 100% a gamble, and there's been multiple times where that's been a thing where even like you said, the conference championship games, where if you're a fan of a team coming down to like the last 2 weeks, they will let you buy tickets ahead of time. If your team makes it, you get those tickets. But are actual fans buying them? Or are teams buying them just on the off chance that say, okay, I know if Michigan makes it, I can buy these tickets now, pretend I'm a fan, and I know they'll sell back. And it's a win-win for them. Because you can pick and choose, okay, Ohio State's going to be in the Big Ten Championship, that will sell. Versus Northwestern, and I think they sold out all of their tickets last year, but that was one of the ones where people were saying, like, Northwestern put together a gigantic drive, and they had buses going from the game to try to get their fans at the stadium because they knew they needed that support. Anyone, to me, and like you said about a loss, and a lot of time these donors just buy the tickets in blocks anyway and don't go. Like, if you look at a lot of lower arenas, especially in hockey, a lot of banks just own that whole block, and if they don't give any tickets away, they're just empty. They try to give them away. They try to resell them, whatever they have to do. But personally, it makes me not want to buy tickets. I did go see Metallica, and this was strange to me when I saw that it was them. I saw them in Miami, was it 2 years ago now? It wasn't close to being a sellout. The entire section that I was in was empty. It was like me and two other guys. So how were they making this much money? They must have only been reselling the pit tickets or something, because I wasn't in the pit. So I would imagine that they're doing it very selectively. And same if they were doing it for sports. You would only do it for the first couple rows, knowing that those would get the highest markup. Because if you anything else other than that, then they just list them and then whatever happens. And maybe that's what they think. If we can sell this premium seats for 40% more, let's do it, because then if it doesn't sell out, then at least we've made our money. I don't know. Something to look at. What do you got for final, Bill?
This is really random. I was watching wrestling tonight because why not? It's Monday night. And they posted, according to the Nielsen Social Guide, last week Raw was the most watched social show on all of TV, beating Major League Baseball on ESPN, American Ninja Warrior on NBC, and The Bachelorette on ABC. So, watch a little bit of wrestling. Watch it with your kids. Teach them to do a good headlock. May come in handy someday.
It's funny that you brought that up. I just heard someone complaining about how wrestling takes forever to get started these days. Where in the old days you turned on Raw and it was like the opening match was ready to go. And now it's like 15 minutes of dudes walking to the ring. Then they have their mic and they do like their little skit they do back and forth. And then it's like, what time does it even start? 8 o'clock? Like 8:15, 9:15, whatever time it starts. It's like that until they even begin to start the fight. So, crazy times. A lot of theatrics. Maybe it's helping ratings. I don't know. Haven't looked at wrestling ratings. Anything else you got for us this week?
We did talk earlier about transferring players. And I saw that one of Auburn's quarterbacks, Malik Willis, was transferring from Auburn to Liberty. And it's a story that I want to keep an eye on just to see what he does, because part of his explanation for transferring out, he liked seeing what Hugh Freeze did with his offense and throwing the ball, and kind of going back to your point earlier about how there's college players that they go to a system and don't know. I heard a story where a quarterback went to Georgia Tech not realizing that they ran the option. And this Malik Willis was saying, yeah, we really ran the ball a lot. He didn't really showcase passing the ball. It's like, did you watch any Auburn games ever? Like, it's running, it's a run first program. that it put Cam Newton on the map. So it's just something I want to see if he qualifies and to see if he does get on campus right away, what that does for Liberty's program, because they are one that's going to be, I think, going to be something to watch this season under Hugh Freeze.
Talking about throwing money at programs, that's a program, Liberty, that's had a huge influx of money. So we will see they've already took the jump up to Division I already. That's how you will see if it takes donor money to be competitive. Because I could see them making a gigantic jump in a state, Virginia, that has a relatively small Virginia Tech program as its most successful. You turn into Liberty, which could be a gigantic school in the future due to their online program being ahead of the curve. See what happens.
I think UVA is going to push more, being that they just won basketball. They've won a baseball championship recently. They're more relevant than Vatech.
I will say Virginia is more of an upper school. They're not going to have the large fan base just because it's not blue collar. It's like Vanderbilt or like Northwestern. It's that type of school where it's mostly academics. They don't have a large alumni population, I don't believe. Maybe I'm wrong in that respect. But to me, I always thought Virginia Tech was more blue collar, hardworking. They were able to get the common man across the state to buy merch. I drive up 95 all through Virginia all the time, and I will tell you, you go to any gas station, you normally see Virginia Tech stuff, Washington Redskins stuff. That's it. You almost never see Virginia stuff, at least from where I stop, and maybe I'm stopping at what people would consider trash places. I don't know. But that's what I would say. I feel like Virginia is considered so upper class that they kind of distance themselves from being welcoming to the open fan. Because some private schools like Duke, they're not like that. They'll take the average fan, like a common Joe, and let them be a crazy Duke fan because they are everywhere. Where Virginia, I don't think they have that, and I don't think they ever will. And I'm wrong there. If they would win a football national championship, then yes, I could see them taking that jump and becoming the Virginia school. But until one of them wins a national championship in football, I don't think it matters because I think that's a football state, and I think that's where they live and die. So you'll see Virginia Tech stuff, you'll see Redskins stuff. Prove me wrong. Send me pictures of that if you live in Virginia. Of course, if you live in Charlottesville, I'm just going to laugh in your face because, of course, the one little small town beside where you live has that kind of stuff. But I honestly see more Florida State stuff around there, too. Florida State, Clemson. Oh, gee, I wonder why. ACC schools, you're just hopping in Virginia, and you know they're all riding those coattails, all those Virginia fans, when football season rolls around anyway. So, that's all I have. You got anything else?
That's it.
Check
out the website.
Yeah, technical stuff now, just for the end of the show. Working on getting the video and stuff up. The video, I was really small today because of some Skype stuff. We were trying to get worked out before the show, so we just used a Skype video. Hoping to have a lot of that stuff set up in the coming weeks before we get to football season. Looks like we haven't had any issues recording, so we're going to start adding extra clips and videos for people that watch. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to make it more interactive. Hopefully we'll be able to display football scores and things like that as we're talking about them. So if there's anything that you want to see on the show that would make you want to watch it more instead of just listening to a podcast, let us know. If you just love listening to the podcast, that's fine too. Just make sure you tell your friends. Go to southboundsports.com. For the people that are clicking on our Amazon affiliate link, thank you again because that's going to be a big help as we continue to roll out these improvements. So, got the topic list back on the video this week. Everything went smooth. Moving on to some next stuff. Let us know if you have any ideas. And with football season starting, we're hoping to do some collaboration stuff now, as long as Skype holds up. But we'll see how that goes. Let us know if you had any audio issues this week. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.